Columbia. They've got Coastal Carolina as the number 6 national seed. And in that field, you've got Clemson and Wofford. So that would be very, very neat for the state of South Carolina. We'll go over more of that coming up. 7:05, Coastal Carolina football coach Tim Beck. He joins us to talk about his first spring with the Chanticleers. And I saw some video today. We retweeted it from Darlington. Got to ask him about this. Grayson McCall, of course, an ambassador for a Darlington Raceway. He takes a hot lap around the track with, is that Randy LaJoy? One of the LaJoys drives the pace car. He took a hot lap with him, and he he wasn't wearing driver gear. He was wearing football gear. Talking about McCall. He was wearing his football helmet, and I think he had on shoulder pads and his jersey.
Yep.
And he was strapped in to the pace car, and they were going at speed. I mean, they probably hit, maybe 140, 150, and LaJoy took it right up to the wall. So we'll ask Coach Beck how you feel about your franchise taking a quick stroll around Darlington recently. And 7:30, Gary Stoken, president of the Peach Bowl, is going to join us. They've got the golf tournament coming up with the coaches, but of course they got games coming up as well. Always great to get together with Gary and talk about the state of college football from his standpoint. And they will be hosting, I think I'm right about this, I believe Atlanta, the Peach Bowl, will be hosting the national championship game in 2024 or the end of this coming season. So actually, the semifinals are in Dallas and Miami Gardens, and the Natty is in Atlanta. Very familiar spots to those of us who've been bouncing around covering, Clemson football in the Orange Bowl and the USC women in the Final Four. And, of course, Atlanta is in the backyard. So that would be kind of cool if we could get a team in the semifinals to cover either in Miami or Dallas. And then if they win, go to Atlanta and cover the national championship. So we got all that coming your way tonight and your phone calls. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We got a lot of recruiting for you as well. There'll be some baseball going on. We'll keep an eye on that too. And now, Chris's thoughts.
About?
I don't
just
know.
In general.
Your day, Finn.
I watched it rain.
Your wife's golf game, whatever you want to discuss.
I think we ragged on her golf game enough yesterday to embarrass me, so we'll move forth. But, yeah, I watched it rain a good bit today, but I love the video that Darlington put out. I think it was actually Corey LaJoy, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And
is there a Randy LaJoy?
Oh, you're testing my lack of NASCAR knowledge there.
I think there's more than one LaJoy.
I'm not positive. I think you're probably right. But I thought his comments about let's go get you a Darlington stripe, I think Kerry Tharp would have a heart attack if he put a Darlington stripe on that pace car.
Yeah.
Because of how beautiful that car is. But I've watched Grayson throughout his career at Coastal. He's a fearless football player. I think that's the first time I've ever seen him afraid. If you look at his face while they're going around the track – it's a little uncomfortable. I think Grayson was surprised at how quickly they get around the racetrack and how close they do get to the wall at Darlington. But it's an exceptional video. If you haven't seen it, you need to check out our Twitter page at SportsTalkSC. But, yeah, I'm sure Tim Beck is glad to see Grayson get back out of the car. But I don't think, as you pointed out, his football helmet is NASCAR approved. I wouldn't think.
That was so funny. But, I've done that, as we've talked about before, with David Pearson, the late, great David Pearson, and you don't realize until you're actually in the car and going at speed, that sensation of going from the flat part of that track to one of the turns and the angles, and you feel like you're falling out of the car. And, of course, you've got the G's pulling against you. You're strapped in. You can't move. You can't breathe. And you're watching the driver, and, he's cool, calm, and collected because he knows what he's doing. But it is quite the thrill to take that ride around Darlington. And look, I know other tracks are thrilling as well, but I don't think you have quite the combination of speed and wall like you have at Darlington. And when I mean wall, they drive so closely to the wall at Darlington at high speeds. I mean, the wall comes into play everywhere. But, Martinsville, Richmond, Bristol, That's 75, 80 miles an hour. You do that in the backyard. Talladega, Daytona, you're not so much up against the wall. You're all over the track. This is high speed, high banked, and up against the wall, which is a combination I don't think you find anywhere else in NASCAR.
I would agree. And if you want to win at Darlington, you've got to be unafraid to be up by the wall, because I've been told time and time again, that's the fastest way around that racetrack is to ride and hug the wall. And it's a dangerous place to be. And if you make a mistake at Darlington, you'll pay for it in a heartbeat. And as Eric Almirola was telling me yesterday, and any driver we talk to will say the same thing. I don't know if it's the party line or this is actually true. It's one of, if not the only place on the circuit that they actually race the track more than they race the competitors. Because if you take your eyes off, and especially come September, if you take your eyes off for 500 miles, just a mile, your day's going to end a lot sooner than you would like. So Darlington's so unique, so much fun. I'm glad Grayson got a chance to test that out, and I'm sure he'll be looking forward to maybe watching the race in May. I will be fascinated to find out if he's going to be able to come back for the Southern 500 as the ambassador. You would think he'd want to, but Coastal plays the day before in Los Angeles against UCLA.
Yeah.
So will they get him back in time? Will he have had enough sleep to get up and come back over to Darlington after a long trip out to the West Coast? We'll have to see.
What time is that kickoff? You know yet?
I don't think they've set it yet. Coach Beck might be able to shed some light on that when he joins us a little bit later, but I don't think it's been set.
Yeah. Well, you got to figure they're going to fly back after the game, whether it's an afternoon kick or an evening kick. It's going to be a late flight back.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a little much to expect him to bounce right back and get to the track. But then again, he might feel that's his duty.
Right.
It's part of his NIL deal with them, and he'll do everything he can to be there. The transfer portal, John, kind of active today. Some Gamecock football players have entered the transfer portal, John. I want to comment on this in just a moment. Demetrius Watson, a young defensive tackle, and also backup quarterback Braden Davis has entered the transfer portal, John, for the Gamecocks. So I don't know. My feelings are that I wish players would give opportunities a chance to play out. I think in the long run, unless you hit a home run with your next stop, I think in the long run, you can be damaging yourself. We're seeing guys, for example, also entering the transfer portal, John, today was defensive tackle Stephon Wynn. That name might sound familiar to you because he played at TL Hanna before he went to IMG, before he went to Alabama, before he went to Nebraska. And now he's back in the portal, John. And, you just sort of wonder, and I'm not talking about in your football life or your athletic life. One day you're going to have an employer, and he's going to look over the resume, and he's going to say, well, why did you leave here? And why did you leave here? And why did you leave here? Stability. Stability's got to be an important thing. I'm not trying to play Dr. Phil here, though I could play Dr. Phil. But stability, I think, is an important factor in a person's life. And bouncing, always trying to find the next best place, I don't know if that's all that good, and especially with these young guys. Now, in the case of both of these players at South Carolina, you got to give the process a chance. Braden Davis was a highly regarded quarterback coming out of high school in Delaware, had a lot of opportunities. Clemson was an early offer for him. South Carolina got involved and other big-time programs, and he chose to go with the Gamecocks. And, I'm sure he looks at the quarterback room and sees other good players. Well, there's going to be good players everywhere you go. Whatever happened to sitting back and competing and giving it your best shot, you're not going to beat out Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler's had no competition since the day he committed to South Carolina. Just ask Luke Doty. And, same thing for Braden Davis or anybody else in that quarterback room. Okay, so you want to try and go find yourself a place to play where you might be happier, then so be it. Everybody's got to do what they think is right. In the case of Watson, this was a Shrine Bowler, one of the top defensive linemen in the state just a couple of years ago out of Fort Dorchester. And South Carolina won a pretty strong recruiting battle for him, has a lot of promise to him. Defensive line, you roll people in and out. You're going to get an opportunity in time. You just have to mature and get bigger and stronger and and pick up the nuances of your defense, and you'll get your chance. So now I'm speaking from the outside. I don't know the personal situations with any of these people. Don't care to know. I'm just talking about it from an outsider looking in at it from a athletic football standpoint here in this particular case. It just boggles my mind the lack of patience these players who are entering the transfer portal, John, so quickly in their careers, or doing it multiple times. Storm Duck out of Boiling Springs High School. He goes to North Carolina, fairly unheralded, good player in high school, but, South Carolina and Clemson didn't pursue him. He goes to North Carolina, becomes a starter, leaves there, transfers to Penn State, goes through spring practice at Penn State, goes back in the portal, John. I guess because maybe they didn't name him a starter in the secondary. So, I think that the NCAA, did they, you give somebody too much freedom, and I guess it's their freedom to use or not use, and they make that decision. It's a personal decision. But sometimes, as an authority, as an authority figure, or as an organization, I think sometimes you got to make decisions for people that protect them from themselves. And I think by having some limitations on what you can do from a transfer standpoint is a good thing. And sometimes it protects a player from hurting himself or herself by trying to move so much. I see Pat shaking his head. No, he disagrees vehemently, but that's okay. I don't expect everybody to agree with what I'm saying. I'm giving you my view on my belief that stability is important. If you hit a roadblock in your career where there's absolutely nowhere to go but down, then yeah, okay. But when you're a freshman and you're on scholarship and you were recruited and you were pretty highly recruited, you got to give it some time. You got to give yourself a chance at the place that you chose. Now, who knows? Maybe in these cases they were told to leave, like at Colorado. South Carolina, Clemson, they're not above telling players you're not going to play here. You might want to find somewhere else to go. Maybe that was the case here too. I don't know. I'm only looking at it from the outside and what I can gather from their simple tweets. So anyway, that's just my view on whenever I see the local guys hitting the transfer portal, John, especially the young guys, especially the ones that we followed in recruiting who you think would have a chance if they gave it a chance. I wonder if they're just making a mistake.
I'm not trying to be facetious here. I actually want to get an answer to this. What happens to the kids who go into the transfer portal and don't go anywhere?
You mean find another place?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants them.
They lose it. They lose their scholarship. They lose their free ride. They lose whatever they have.
So what do you think the percentage of kids, football, basketball, baseball, what have you, go into the transfer portal expecting the grass to be greener on the other side, and they find no landing spots?
Funny you should ask that. Funny you should ask that because let's see if this note pertains. I've had a note in my stack of notes that I've been sitting on here for a long time. Let's see if this is the one that pertains to it. It's an interesting story. Let's see. Yeah, The Athletic. This was a little while ago, but I've held on to this. The Athletic studied the careers of the top 50 high school quarterbacks who signed with FBS programs from 2017 through 2020. More than 70% have transferred during their time in college. They did this study at the end of 2019 for the top 50 quarterbacks of the 2014 through 2017 classes and found 57% had transferred from the school they initially signed with out of high school. At the time, that seemed like a high percentage, not anymore. So they're comparing two different studies. So when they did the study on the 14 through 17 classes, they come up with 57%. When they did the study on the 17 through 20 classes, more than 70% have hit the transfer portal, John, among quarterbacks, among top 50 quarterbacks. Based on these recent classes, if a top 50 quarterback signee doesn't start one game in his first 2 years on campus, there's an 87% chance he'll end up leaving the program. But among the quarterbacks who did earn a start in their first 2 years, more than 60% still ended up transferring during their careers. So what does that tell you? I mean, and we're talking about the quarterback position here, which is a very sensitive position, wouldn't you say? The way quarterbacks are being raised today from an early age and being coddled and being told, they're the greatest thing to come down the pike, that when they find out that they're not, and they're not the best, and that they have to sit behind some other people, is take my ball and just go home.
Well, it kind of makes you respect a guy like Luke Doty, who started for Carolina, then been relegated to the bench and may stay there, who knows, perhaps for the rest of his career. And he's tried to stick it out at USC and tried to figure out a way he can compete and get back on the field. But I would imagine that in terms of the transfer portal, John, for the most part, quarterbacks obviously are the high-profile athletes, but also it's only one spot that normally a guy gets that spot at the beginning of the year and finishes there as well. So it's not like a second-team running back who would get an opportunity to play, or a second-team offensive or defensive lineman, or a third-team wide receiver, because you run so many different players in at those positions. You're going to get much more opportunities. Mm-hmm. Whereas at quarterback, I mean, if you're not the number one guy, chances are you're not going to, what's that old saying about if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. Scenery never changes. I think that's probably the case for quarterbacks. So I'm not overly surprised that the quarterback room has the greater frequency of transfers. But I'm curious, and I don't know that anybody's ever followed up on that study. What happens when you go into the transfer portal and have nowhere to go?
That's right.
Is your career just done?
And I do, of course, know and understand that the NCAA has tried to put a little bite back into the rule by saying you get the one-time transfer, and then after that, without a waiver, you got to sit out a year. That's the new rule. So that's going into place, and that's going to stymie some of this in the years to come. But you still have that one-time transfer that you can take whenever you're ready to hit the road. So just was sharing some thoughts on that as all that was coming down the pike today. Let's see. Listener Eddie tells us that Randy LaJoie has been out of racing. Corey is the current NASCAR driver, Randy's son. So Corey was Randy's son. So it was Randy LaJoie. There is a Randy. All I was trying to get at was there was a Randy LaJoie. Mm-hmm. I thought there was a Randy LaJoie. Yes, sir, Pat.
Real quick before we go to break. Sorry, shared studio. Long story short, there we go. So I was shaking my head just real fast before we hit the break, because my only beef, I agree with a lot of what you said, actually, Phil, and with what you said, Chris. My only issue and why I was shaking my head is I'm not a fan of the generalization of the transfer role as a whole. I prefer to look at it on a case-by-case basis. I look specifically at this with Braden Davis. The Gamecocks currently have, now 5, but they had 6 quarterbacks on their roster as of right now. Spencer Rattler, the starter, Luke Lodi, the presumptive backup, Braden Davis, Tanner Bailey, Colton Gauthier, Lenoris Sellers. Lenoris Sellers, we've talked about on this show how impressive he has been this spring. And right now, there's thoughts out there that he may be challenging Doty even for that backup role to Rattler. Mm-hmm. So if I'm Braden Davis, I'm sitting there thinking, all right, so as of right now, I'm 4th string. You got Dante Reno coming in next year. Lenoris Sellers there. Doty might be gone. Does he have 2 years left or 1, Doty? He has 2 years, right?
Yeah, I think so. With the free 2020 pass, I think it is 2 years.
So my only thing is there, if you're Braden Davis, you're talking with your family, you're talking with your mentors and whatnot, do you realistically think you're ever going to actually get your shot? And that's fair. I totally don't blame Coach Beamer. You got to go out and get players. You always want to have the cupboard full. You always want to have backups there. But if you're a player, you do only have so many years of eligibility, so many years to actually play. How many people in their 30s, 40s, 50s that played in college and were always backups maybe regret not transferring, going somewhere else, actually giving themselves a chance? So I just like to look at it on a case-by-case basis. And I think in this particular situation, Braden Davis saw the writing on the wall, especially now with how well Lenoris Sellers played this spring.
Well, I don't disagree. I would say that you just never know what's going to happen, though, in the future. Look at Stetson Bennett. I mean, that guy was buried on the Georgia depth chart. He had to go to a junior college. He came back as a walk-on. He was still buried on the depth chart. And he waited for some things to happen. And then he obviously stuck it out, learned the offense, impressed him in practice, got his opportunity, And the rest is history. The dude won 2 national championships as a nobody. Because he stuck it out, he learned the offense, and he proved himself. I don't know. I mean, why couldn't a Braden Davis or anybody, a Demetrius Watson or anybody, not do the same thing when you're that young in your career, you know? We'll hit the break. We'll be right back.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years of NASCAR gone by. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, May 12th through the 14th. Get your tickets today at darlingtonraceway.com.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company and then talking to you and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
All right, short segment here. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. And, of course, the lottery does great things in the state of South Carolina, as you well know. And since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in the lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Eric Backish coming up after the bottom of the hour break. We'll talk with the Clemson baseball coach. His team, well, they were 22 in the RPI before their win last night over Kennesaw State. That was a run rule game for the Tigers as they scored, 13 of the last 15 runs, I think it was. Let's see where they are now after that. Well, they're still 22 in the RPI, so that did not impact them. But they are starting to play good baseball. They're being talked about as a postseason team now. They got to go up to Boston College to play a nationally ranked team this weekend. We'll talk with the coach about all that and more when we continue with Sports Talk after this bottom of the hour break.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy this evening with a low of 53. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds with a 30% chance of showers. The high reaches 78. Friday is the rain day with an 80% chance of thunderstorms, especially in the first half of the day. The high is 77. For the weekend, Saturday, we hit 82 and get a mix of sun and clouds. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, it's Kevin. I'm taking VFT on the road. Join me for a very fun Thursday afternoon drive as the Point heads to KJ's Market on St. Andrews Road. The South Carolina Pork Court has invited us out, and we'll do anything to take our act on the road. Everyone that stops by KJ's Market this Thursday, 4 to 6, free Point swag. It's a good kind of pork, not the kind we talk about with government spending. Come out. Visit with me Thursday, 4 to 6 at KJ's Market, St. Andrews, compliments of the South Carolina Pork Board.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Blocker. House Republicans have approved a debt ceiling package. It's the start of efforts to avoid a potentially catastrophic government debt default this summer. President Biden has threatened to veto the bill over the budget limits that are attached. Crowds of families have been growing at Sudan's border crossing with Egypt. They're trying to get out of the country that has been filled with violence in the last 12 days. Some 900 people have been killed. Federal authorities in Michigan filing charges against 11 people, that in a scheme to defeat air pollution rules by tampering with software and hardware in heavy-duty diesel engines. The records in Michigan show that 9 of the 11 have now agreed to plead guilty, along with 3 companies. This is SRN News.
Prohibition in America ended almost a century ago, but outdated laws still ban Sunday sales of liquor in South Carolina, even though 37 South Carolina counties already sell beer and wine on Sundays. A new study conducted by Clemson University professors at Mountain View Economics finds that lifting the ban on Sunday sales will generate millions annually in new revenue for South Carolina. Lifting the ban will also give consumers more choice and greater convenience. Senate Bill 492 would let local voters decide whether to allow liquor stores in their county to open on Sundays, while giving local businesses the freedom to operate during their preferred hours. Join our coalition and contact your elected officials to urge them to pass S 492. Let the people decide. Let scdecide.com. Paid for by Diageo, a member of Cheers. Let SC decide.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago, 8 years ago to be exact, that spending my marketing dollars at The Point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local, to partner with him in 2023 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
A lot of good baseball being played around the state of South Carolina this college season, man. We got some good teams and a team that has picked it up and is starting to make noise. Clemson Tigers coming off a win last night over Kennesaw State after going up to Raleigh and sweeping NC State last weekend. We have got the Tigers head coach Eric Bakich with us here on Sports Talk, just coming off the field or coming away from some team activities this evening. Coach, great to have you with us. How are you?
Hey, great, Phil. Hey, Chris. Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
As always, we appreciate you. How are you feeling about what's going on with your team and the way you kind of have turned things up here the last few weeks to get yourself way back up in the RPI and to get yourself back in the discussion of postseason play?
Well, I like the mindset of our group. You know, they've been very consistent with the work ethic and the preparation. And, we've had enough adversity early on that it really did. It calloused the minds and had enough repetitions of all the close games and all the setbacks that it really has allowed us to just go out and play mentally free. And the execution has been better. The level of play has been better. The pitching has been better. Defense has been good. And yeah, very pleased with how we've been playing the last few weeks, but obviously we still have a long way to go.
Sure. Well, I tell you what, you look at your numbers, team batting average of 300, team fielding average of 975, 63 stolen bases out of 81 attempts. Those are good numbers. Those are numbers of a good team. ERA 4.57. I imagine you'd like that to be a little bit lower, but top to bottom, you see this team coming together as a team that can be a true postseason threat when that time rolls around?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And I honestly have thought that from the very beginning, because I thought the physical talent was there. We weren't at full strength like a lot of teams. Everyone deals with injuries at certain points, and we had a lot of them early, especially in the bullpen. But I've always believed in this team, and now it feels like we're starting to. The trajectory is better, and we're playing better, and the group is confident. A confident team can do anything. So I like where we're at, and everyone understands we've got to stay very hungry because we haven't done anything yet. We still have a lot of work to do.
Well, Caden Grice has been a key player for you, both in the field, at the plate, and on the mound during this run. I got to believe you're seeing from him kind of what you expected when the season began.
Yeah, he's playing certainly towards his potential, and being a two-way player helps in both areas. When he's pitching, it's improved his hitting, and vice versa. So really pleased with just the value that he brings to our program. He may not have the best offensive numbers or the best pitching numbers on the team, but when you look at his body of work, he's certainly the one of or the most valuable player on the team.
Well, 310 batting average, 10 home runs, 39 RBIs, stolen 3 bases, and on the mound he is 3-1 with a 4.04, and so I think you're squeezing everything out of him that you can. What about the pitching though? As you look down this road, you've had to work in some young arms, you've had to deal with the injuries in some cases. Overall, do you think you have the pitching depth to continue to make a run and then get to the postseason and make some noise there?
I do, yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't just say that. I genuinely believe that. I believe that with every ounce of my being, that we have the pitching, we have the defense, we have the offense. When a team is confident and they have the preparation that we do, and the mental toughness training, and all the days of the classroom, and the compound effect of all of our training, there just comes a point where things start to click, and the team just starts to run, and we're heading in that direction just based on our level of play, and our level of execution has been much better. We're obviously not a finished product. We're still improving, but we talk about that all the time. That's where the target is. It's just on improvement and growth and getting better, and there's no finish line when you're on that path, and that's the path we're on. And there's other teams that had incredible starts, monster starts, maybe peaked early, and feels like we're getting hot at the right time. So we just need to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm. Clemson head baseball coach Eric Bankich with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Coach, dovetailing off those comments about peaking maybe at the right time, April has been a good month for your baseball team. You've only lost 4 games this month, and ever since that series with Wake Forest, you played the Demon Deacons competitively, just couldn't pick up a win. After the victory over Coastal Carolina, what did you see maybe turn for your baseball team that sort of set you off and playing much better baseball since?
I thought it was before that. I thought we played well against Wake Forest. We didn't win any of the games, but we were certainly in a position to. We had a lead going into the 9th in one of the games, and we had the winning run on base in the 9th inning in another game. So, we were a couple of plays here and there away from a much different outcome. But I just thought our competitiveness was at a very high level, and I think that was a little bit eye-opening to some of our guys, just seeing that, Wake Forest is clearly the best team in our league, and if not the best team in the country. And they just are a very complete team. And, we traded blows with them all weekend, and we're right there. And obviously, there's no moral victories, and, not taking any credit for keeping it close. But I think our guys realize that, we're better than what our record shows.
There are a lot of really good freshmen across the country. Your team may have one of the best in Cam Canarella. Has he surprised you, since obviously this is your first chance to see him and his first chance to play collegiate baseball, but how quickly he's adapted to the college game?
Well, any freshman that has high-level success like this consistently is a surprise, because it's so hard, especially in the post-COVID world where everybody's old. You see home runs are up throughout the country because you're playing against 23 and 24-year-old grown men. And to have an 18, 19-year-old come in against guys who are just, the age of, AA players, it's just, we're in a time of college baseball where the game is just so much older and so much more physical. So to see any freshman, on either side of the ball, pitching or hitting, to be able to have sustained, consistent success, there has to be a testament to either an elite physical skill set or an elite mindset. And the mindset is where Cam, I think, really, he's got a great physical skill set, but he's not a physical kid. He's still very much at the early stages of his physical development. It's not like he's filled out or anything like that. He's very lean. He's very athletic, but it's the mindset that's the separator. He's very consistent. He stays in the middle. He stays in neutral, and just one of those kids that never seems to have too high highs or too low lows. And for him to be able to get back to the middle has been the key for his consistency.
Are you a superstitious person?
Well, I'm in the sport of baseball, so I think, yes.
Well, there's a reason for my question. You guys, if I'm not mistaken, have won 6 straight games with your orange tops and your white bottoms, including this past weekend, the sweep at NC State. Are you asking your managers to wear out the washing machines to keep those clean?
Yeah, that's funny. We had not won a game one in conference play up until the NC State weekend. We had lost the first 5 game ones, whether we played on Thursday or Friday. Whatever game one of the series was, we had not won up until NC State. So we just kind of said, screw it, let's stick with it. And so we've just kind of stuck with it. But call it superstition, call it just an affinity for the orange jersey, but that's what we've been rocking.
That's great. That's great. Any injuries of concern at this point as you get ready to hit the road for Boston College?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody has their bumps and bruises. Still, Billy Barlow's still out, and he's a big piece just because of the experience he has and all the games he started. And, looking forward to getting him back at some point just because of the caliber of pitcher that he is. I don't know if he'll be back anytime soon, but yeah, I mean, everybody's dealing with something all the time, but nothing that's should limit us in any way different than last weekend. So, just excited to have guys like Ryan Ammons back, and Jackson Lindley and Casey Talent and Joe Allen, and a lot of the guys that had missed some time over the last few months or a few weeks.
You guys are still sold on the idea of keeping Ryan Ammons coming out of the bullpen? Is that the way it's going to be, you think, the rest of the year?
That's how it's going to be the rest of the year. Yeah, he's comfortable in that role, and we don't want to overextend him and want to be able to use him at the back end, and he's so valuable back there, and that's where we've blown some games. I think 6 or 7 times we have lost the game when having the lead after 7, and so having a guy with that type of experience and that type of physical ability on the back end to shut down a game is just too valuable to take him out of that role.
Thoughts on Boston College as you prepare to make the trip up to the Northeast? You probably know this as well as anybody. It's a different atmosphere when you go up there. It's just, I guess it's not the same like you face at most stops around the SEC or when you play an SEC team. So what about that aspect of it? But the team they have up there must be pretty good.
They're excellent. They're an excellent team, and it's kind of one of those no superstars mentality, which a lot of times can be the most dangerous team because they are a team, and they play 1 through 9, and they have a pitching staff that may not outstuff you, but they've got really good command of their stuff, and they've got an offense that's connected, and guys aren't up there trying to hit homers. They're just up there playing team baseball. They've got 12 delayed steals on the year. They'll do whatever it takes to try to score runs and win the game. And they're just clicking. They've been clicking. They clicked this past weekend really well in Chapel Hill with a sweep, which is tough to do. So this is going to be a huge challenge for us. And fortunately, our guys are going to be up for it. We've been playing well on the road, and we'll need to play our best in order to come away with the victory on Friday night.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, you can really do yourself. I don't know how much you subscribe to the RPI and follow all that stuff. I guess for those of us on the outside, it's the one thing we can kind of sink our teeth in and get an idea. But you're 22, they're 12. So this is a Q1 matchup both ways. Going on the road and winning games against a Q1 team would do wonders for your RPI.
Well, we saw that this past weekend at NC State. It jumped quite a bit. And, I know that's a huge tool that the committee looks at and something that's very important for, a power conference to have a good RPI, and make sure you can secure your chances for the postseason, whether you're trying to host or whether you're just trying to get an at-large bid. And, so for us, playing our way into the conversation of just being a postseason team right now is a positive, but we're just really ultimately focused on just playing good baseball. And when we play well, we seem to win, and that just needs to be our focus. It needs to be kind of a head down approach on just playing well, not looking around thinking about what the postseason could look like in June.
Yeah. Well, leave you with this last question. I mean, I know you want to get to a spot where you can host. That's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, you went out the rest of your games and win the ACC tournament. You might just play your way into a host. But D1 baseball, you probably are aware, had their updated projections today. They got you guys going to Coastal Carolina to play that, to be in that regional. So, just sort of talking out loud here, what would you think about the idea of going to Conway for a weekend and being in that regional against the Chanticleers? They got Wofford in there as well. Any thoughts on that possibility, or too far down the road?
I just don't subscribe to that line of thinking. That's for the fans, and that's for that's for you guys to talk about. If our players spend 1 second thinking about that, then it's not going to go well. We literally have to keep knowing our margin is razor thin. We have to keep our entire focus on just improvement and growth, and how can we win the day and getting better today. And I saw those projections. I love what D1 baseball does. I love their coverage. I love Kendall Rogers and Aaron Fitt and all the guys, but I'm not for 1 second putting any stock into projections in April.
Understand. Good luck this weekend up in Boston. Enjoy maybe some lobster or whatever you can have up there in Boston, and get some
We
wins.
are having lobster. We are getting lobster rolls. Yeah.
You're going to get.
Secured that.
There you go.
We can't look ahead to that. We do have lobster rolls coming.
Very
don't
good.
forget the orange jersey, Coach.
And the orange jerseys. Chris has made sure about that. Hey, we thank you so much. Have a great trip up there. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, sounds great. Thanks for having me as always.
Thank you. Okay, Eric Bakich. Boy, quite honest in a lot of his comments, and love that straightforward, and thinks his team is going to be one to have to deal with here going down the stretch of the regular season. They keep playing like they are. They'll be in position for postseason. You look at the rest of their schedule. We mentioned Boston College this weekend. That's a team with an excellent RPI, and then you got, of course, Louisville at home. That'll be crucial. Louisville and their RPI. Louisville, great reputation in recent years, and they've had really good teams. A CWS team not too many years ago. This year, as I pull them up here, just want to see what the RPI has for them. They are 24th. That is a little bit down. Now, they did climb 8 spots since last Sunday. But you know about Louisville, that's a team that always has really good offense, and so you got to deal with that. Then a game, they go to Coastal coming up on May the 10th. They'll be at Coastal, and then they go to Virginia Tech and finish up with Upstate and North Carolina, 3 at home. That's a tough close. When you look at that close, you're looking at 3 at Boston College. That's number 12 in the RPI. I just said Louisville was 24. Coastal is what, 6 in the RPI? Virginia Tech is where is Virginia Tech? They are 43 in the RPI. And then we know North Carolina and Upstate. Upstate is a good team. They're somewhat handicapped RPI-wise because of their schedule. And then North Carolina, of course, though they got swept last weekend, they're still a highly regarded team. I'll spit it out. Highly regarded team. In other words, what I'm getting at here, very tough close to the regular season for the Tigers. They got their work cut out for them.
No doubt. And they've got a chance to play themselves firmly into the tournaments. And unfortunately, also because of the competition, play themselves off the bubble and out completely. And BC, normally this would be one you chalk into the win column for Clemson. 3-game sweep, go up there, not break a sweat, and come home. Boston College, believe it or not, coming off their first ACC, not just against North Carolina, their first ACC series sweep in 6 years. If they go back to 2017, the last time they swept somebody in the ACC. So this is a much, much better Boston College team that hadn't really had a whole lot of opportunities to play at home, as much of the Northeast schools don't, because their entire first month was on the road. So who knows what Clemson's walking into this weekend. But the way they're playing right now, this will be a good little test for them. They can win 2 out of 3 this weekend. They'll put themselves in prime shape to make a regional.
Yeah, North Carolina's 47 in the RPI. They're only 6-13 against Q1 teams. So
wow,
they are slipping. Probably still going to make the tournament somewhere if they don't totally fall apart. But they have dropped from a team that was in the teens with their RPI to 47. Okay, we'll hit the break and maybe hit some phone calls when we come back here on Sports Talk. Be back in a moment.
Have you turned on the fun? Try Cash Pop from the South Carolina Education Lottery. Pick one number from 1 to 15, win up to $2,500. Or play all 15 numbers, and you're guaranteed to win. Play twice a day to double your fun. It really is that easy. Visit sceducationlottery.com to get the details. Cash Pop. It's the light of the party.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Morgan. I want to tell you about an exciting new product from my friends at Vision Air Solutions. Staying healthy in my line of work is so critical, and probably in yours as well. A large factor in all that is making sure we're breathing in healthy and safe air every day. That's where Vision Air Solutions comes in. They make sure your home has air purification for all the air pollution you can't see. Viruses, mold, bacteria, stale odors, cooking smells, and volatile organic compounds. They make sure your home is full of clean air and also offer HVAC duct cleaning and sanitation as well. Make sure you and your family are breathing clean air today by giving Vision Air Solutions a call today. 803-220-1811. That's 803-220-1811. Tell them Mike sent you.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years of NASCAR gone by. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, May 12th through the 14th. Get your tickets today at darlingtonraceway.com.
Thanks again to Clemson baseball coach Eric Bakich for being with us. If you missed that interview, it'll be up for you later on our podcast feeds at Spotify and Apple Podcast and SoundCloud. And we'll put a story up with him as well on the website, SportsTalkSC.com. So if you missed it, you can catch it there, or you can go back and listen to the entire show in podcast form. Let's hit the phones here for a couple of quick minutes. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on the Sports Talk. As we go to Sam in Charleston. Hello, Sam. How are you?
Good. Hey, Phil, Chris, and Pat. You guys are doing well. Hope you have an awesome day.
Great day.
I do have a golf question to ask you.
So, you've come to the expert. Go ahead.
So, actually, I got some great news. I got a pitching wedge.
Okay. Did you actually go and buy one, or take my advice and just take a 5-iron and beat it up against a tree until it bends into the form of a pitching wedge?
Well, I did not do that, so that'd be a little cheating right there.
Good for you.
I got a pitching wedge. I didn't make a hole-in-one, but so I have a great question about the home run derby contest in July for the All-Star game in the CFC. Number one for the home run derby this year.
I don't think they've have they picked the people for the home run derby yet? I don't think they have. A little bit later on in the season.
Okay, well, so I've been talking about the College of Charleston men's basketball team. Have you guys heard about a new signing just named this week?
You know what, Sam? You have got to stay tuned to the recruiting report tonight, because I've got some news just for you.
You can tell me now.
Well, that would spoil the recruiting report.
Oh, rats.
That's called a tease in the radio business. It's a tease. So that means you got to stay tuned into the next hour.
So I have a question for Corn.
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
So, Corn, quick question to ask you. So, what do you guys think about the TD Arena getting renovated for next year? Because I think what's been the problem is at TD Arena is it's been like not smuggling kind of stuff, but it's too tight for everybody to sit on. Do you think the student section will get bigger than that? Because most students want to see more seating arrangements, because I feel bad for those students, because I just want them to know that they need more seating at TD Arena, because I think they need more room, comfortable seats,
Well, we got to go to the break, Sam. Thank you very much. I don't know of any renovations going on there right now. It's not an old arena to begin with.
They renovated it back just a year ago, added 2 new video boards, a 360-degree ribbon board, scores table, and shot clocks, or new updated shot clocks. So they just did some renovations last year.
They don't need to touch that building. It's an awesome place to play. They need to leave it alone, because when that place is full, it is extremely loud. And did he gloss over the fact that, I hear him correctly, he had hole-in-one and he just kept gliding on past that?
I think that's what he said with his brand new pitching wedge.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
How do you not brag on that?
I'm
yeah,
jealous.
Exactly.
Probably about 175-yard hole-in-one with a pitching wedge.
Happened here. Thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. House Republicans just approving a debt ceiling package. It's the start of efforts to avoid a potentially catastrophic government debt default this summer. President Biden, though, threatening to veto the bill over the budget limits that are attached. Well, the president has delivered a blunt warning to North Korea.
During a White House visit by South Korea's president, Mr. Biden spoke directly about North Korea's persistent nuclear threat.
A nuclear attack by North Korea against the United States or its allies or partisans, partners, is unacceptable and will result in the end of whatever regime were to take such an action.
The two leaders reached a new defense agreement that includes plans to dock U.S. nuclear-armed submarines in South Korea for the first time in over 40 years. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Also at townhall.com, former Vice President Mike Pence says he would like to see mifepristone, the widely used abortion pill at the center of a legal battle, off the market, citing safety concerns. Pence says the FDA approval was political.
The FDA used emergency provisions that were enacted to facilitate addressing the HIV crisis 25 years ago to approve mifepristone.
Federal authorities in Michigan have now filed charges against 11 people. That in a scheme to defeat air pollution rules by tampering with both software and hardware in heavy-duty diesel engines. Now, records show 9 of the 11 have agreed to plead guilty, along with 3 companies. And officials now say those 3 firms will pay anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000 in fines. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
To my newborn baby boy, the day you arrived was one of the happiest days of my life. Right up there with the day I bought my RV from that guy on the internet and insured it with Progressive. What a deal. Just know, son, I'll always be here for you. And by here, I mean in the middle of absolutely nowhere. In my RV.
Protect your baby with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The Senate confirming Joshua David Jacobs to be the Undersecretary for Benefits of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Here's Bob Agnew.
Not much comes easy these days in the Senate, but Jacobs' confirmation did.
The yeas are 74, the nays are 25, and the nomination is confirmed.
As Undersecretary for Benefits, Jacobs will oversee non-medical veterans benefits issues. They account for about $135 billion in services every year. The work includes disability compensation benefits to nearly 6 million veterans. Jacobs' confirmation means the Department of Veterans Affairs will have all of its top positions filled for the first time in 6 years. Bob Agnew, Capitol Hill.
3 teenagers have now been arrested on first-degree murder charges, that in connection with the death of a Colorado woman who was struck by a rock that investigators say was thrown through her windshield as she was driving. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy this evening with a low of 53 tomorrow. A mix of sun and clouds with a 30% chance of showers. The high reaches 78. Friday is the rain day with an 80% chance of thunderstorms, especially in the first half of the day. The high is 77. For the weekend, Saturday, we hit 82 and get a mix of sun and clouds. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Please press button now. No, number 1.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back at Sports Talk Media Network here on a Wednesday night. Appreciate you being with us wherever you are dialed in. We've got a terrific hour ahead. Gary Stoken at the bottom of the hour. In just a moment, Coastal Carolina football coach Tim Beck will be joining us. Plus, we've got some other interesting news notes to pass along to you and the recruiting report coming your way as well. So stay tuned for all of that. While we wait for Coach Beck to jump on board with us, I'll update the baseball scoreboard. We've got the Boston College team playing tonight against UMass Lowell. They're up 8-1. in the 6th inning. College of Charleston, after 3, leads Georgia Southern 7-1. Virginia with a 5-2 lead on Towson as they play the bottom of the 3rd. Duke with a 7-1 lead on High Point. That is after 3. Wofford leading Davidson 3-0. They're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. And in Major League Baseball this afternoon, happy to report that the Yankees got off to Schneid, beat Minnesota 12-6. It's always nice to see your team win the afternoon. That is the one afternoon game of the day, I do believe. Everything else is now just starting to get underway, including the Braves lead the National League. I think they got the best record in the National League, don't they? Atlanta and Miami coming up. Houston has taken a 1-0 lead on Tampa Bay. Dodgers and Pirates, they are scoreless early in that one. Okay, I think we have Coach Beck with us. And so with that being said, let's welcome into Sports Talk to talk about spring practice and about his quarterback going 160 miles an hour around Darlington. We welcome in Coastal Carolina coach Tim Beck to Sports Talk. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys tonight?
We are doing terrific. So did you see the video of your quarterback going around Darlington the other day?
Yeah, I sure did. I did. My heart rate was going faster than he was.
I bet. Now, you know he's got to deal with them and all that, but when it comes to something like that, does he have to kind of talk it over with you? Did y'all discuss that, or he just goes ahead and does it?
Well, I'm sure it's very safe. I mean, there's nobody on the track, and he makes good decisions, and I know I felt safe with him doing that for sure.
He was wearing his football helmet and shoulder pads with that. So anyway, great video by Darlington. So what'd you think of your first spring? I know the first time around, a lot of organization has to go on, a lot of pulling here and pushing in there and trying to figure things out. Did you be satisfied that you accomplished what you?
Yeah, I did. I thought I didn't go in with a whole lot of very specific expectations. We wanted to evaluate our players, evaluate what we're best at, and where to proceed. And the biggest thing I tried to preach to the guys over and over again was just get better every day. And I just was looking for, offensively, I was looking to see us gather and the knowledge of our offensive concepts and schemes and protecting the football. And defensively, I was looking for, same thing, kind of learning the new concepts and things that we're doing and becoming a great tackling team and trying to create turnovers. So, that was our emphasis through spring as we evaluated our talent. And I thought I'd give us an A+ for the spring.
That's good news from a Chanticleer standpoint. I'm sure the fans are happy to hear that. I guess the one question that the fans want to know is, what is this offense going to look like? I mean, they were used to a particular style of offense over all these previous years. You have Grayson coming back, so that's a bonus for you. But how similar or not so similar to what they have been doing will this offense be?
Yeah, I can't give away all my secrets. You know that. I'm sure Chip's listening somewhere, right?
Uh-huh.
So, we're doing what our guys could do best. There's elements of the offense from previous. We have coaches on staff that have done some of that stuff before, and other things. And so I know it's probably not the greatest direct answer, but we open in September and we still got some things to iron out and continue to improve and get better and iron out. So that's what we're doing, and it's going to look a lot cleaner, and we'll be a lot more focused as we head into September.
What is your takeaway, though? Your first opportunity to work one-on-one, hand-in-hand with Grayson McCall. What's your takeaway on him from what you saw in the offseason and in the spring?
Yeah, wow. Just what a competitor, incredible command on the field and leadership. got great vision, great spatial awareness in terms of quarterback play and timing. Very impressed. He picked up things really quick. Very excited for. I'm excited for him. You know, I think this is new. He told me he's having a lot of fun, as much fun as he's had in a long time, and feels great. He's really healthy, and it's all exciting news for Sean Nation. There's no doubt about that. So looking forward to this summer and this off season to continue his growth and development and strength gains and all the things that we're doing right now.
Sure.
Coastal Carolina head football coach Tim Beck with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Coach, clearly with your background, a lot of the focus will be on the offense, but let's flip over to the other side on the defense. What did you learn about the players on that side of the football during spring, and how do you like that unit and where it is now going into off-season conditioning?
I thought the biggest, we really improved defensively. You know, it's a very unique concept and some of the things we're doing, and our guys were able to pick it up, and you started to develop, you started to see more confidence in them. You started to see more communication with them. We became a better tackling football team, creating turnovers. You know, those are all things that win and lose your ball games. What you do isn't as important as how you do it. And so you got to make sure you're sound, right? You're physical, you play aggressive, you know, and you rally to the football. And to me, we made really big gains defensively this spring, and I was really excited about that.
You joked a couple of minutes ago when Phil was asking you to describe the offense that Chip may be listening. My guess is referencing Chip Kelly, the head coach out of UCLA. When you looked at Coastal's schedule, when you took over as head football coach, did that one jump off the page as a season opener in the Rose Bowl to take on UCLA?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I was thinking, hey, you know, I was like, hey, let's see who my first head coaching game, what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, Rose Bowl, all the way across the country. I was like, all the way across the country for a game opener. Nice. And yeah, I guess the Patriots were taken that week.
But in speaking of your tough schedule, how much do you know about the Sun Belt? What have you learned about how competitive the league is and where it stands in terms of if you pardon the expression, the group of five, which is what most fans kind of know that league as?
Well, I tell you, in the college football world, it's extremely well respected and feared. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, the places I've been in the past, you knew, number one, you really didn't want to play them in the Sun Belt. And number two, if you did, you better strap it up because it's a very, very tough football league. It's well coached, very competitive, very good athletes throughout. And at any given day, anybody can beat anybody. So you got to come to play every single week. Nobody's going to give it to you. There's a lot of great teams. It's very exciting to be in a conference, in a league that every week you got to come in and play, and it's exciting football. So I'm really, really blessed and honored and fired up and excited to be the head coach and such a great conference and a great league.
A couple more minutes with Tim Beck at Coastal Carolina. So, I mean, most times when a new coach comes in, not all the time, but most times they got to come in and tear something down because it's broken and rebuild it. Obviously, you did not walk into a broken situation. You walked into a very successful situation. So how do you approach that in terms of making your changes and putting your fingerprints on the program and redoing this thing in your image, knowing that it's not a complete or a tear down sort of situation? It's more like you got to continue what's been going on there.
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I think a couple of things. First of all, I mean, Coach Chadwell and the former staff did a remarkable job here, and so they got rewarded. And so my goal is to build on it. And I think part of the attraction was support from President Benson, Athletic Director Matt Hogue, Joe Moglia, and their vision and what they saw and what they have in place and what they wanted to continue. And my path and vision is very similar. And so I think that was a big part of the marriage between Tim Beck and Coastal Carolina, to be honest. And then from there, I've gained a lot of experience in coaching and some incredible places with incredible coaches, great leaders as athletic directors and head football coaches, but even assistants and guys that I've learned under. And so I've prepared well. I've waited a long time for this opportunity, and I'm ready for it. So it's just tweaking some things here, tweaking some things there, and through all changes and all relationships and all require one thing. They just require time. And so you got to be patient. You can't get it all done in one day, although sometimes I try, but you can't. You just got to be patient and keep grinding. And you got to enhance the things you got to enhance and change the things you got to change, and you move on. And each passing month is something different or new that you have to address, and you address it at that time when you need to. So that's kind of how I've handled it for the most part up to this point.
Well, you've got an incredible resource there in Coach Moglia. And how much do you, not from an X's and O's standpoint, not from a on-the-field football standpoint, that's you and your staff, but just other aspects of running a program and other aspects of dealing with the players, how much do you, if at all, kind of lean on Coach Moglia and talk with him about things that are happening around the program, not necessarily on the field, but just on the perimeter of the program?
Remember, Joe's a very successful person, both in the business world and as a football coach, Hall of Fame here, and winning National Coach of the Year honors. So, I always pick brains. That's part of, I'm always trying to learn. It doesn't matter who I talk to, right? I'm always asking questions, how people have done things, how they deal with certain situations. It could be a high school head coach, so I do visit with Joe some. We do talk. We became friends, obviously, and I use him as an incredible resource, not only for me, my assistant coaches, but also our football team. Again, the success that he has worked for over his career, what an incredible story for our young men on our football team to be able to see his story and what he has gone through in his life to make it to what he is. It's something that needs to be heard and shared for our guys even too, because there may be somebody like him on our football team, and who knows what that could hold for him. So we definitely welcome Joe around at any time he wants to come around.
Sure.
A few more minutes with Coastal Carolina head football coach Tim Beck. And Coach, about your staff for a moment. In your DNA is offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, but you've brought in Travis Trickett from South Florida to run that position for you. How much will you give to him? How much is on his plate in terms of calling plays and being the offensive coordinator? And how much will you help out and maybe step in on occasion from time to time?
I've always vowed myself, and even as a younger coach when I was a high school head coach, stay out of their way. You got to hire really good assistants. You got to trust them with the job at hand, and you got to let them go do you. The worst thing that I can do is start putting Tim Beck flavor on the things that Travis Trickett knows or Craig Niver knows. I could help. I could influence. I could give advice to things I may see as a football coach for years and years of experience, but they have to call the game as they feel it, because I've been there, been an offensive coordinator. I know what that's like when, or if a coach is like, hey, we got to run the ball here. Well, maybe you didn't want to. Maybe you were setting them up for a specific play, and now he's telling you to run it, and it doesn't work, and you get frustrated, and you start getting out of whack and out of sync, and then you start calling the game because you think that's what he wants. And so the hardest part, told my wife, she said, what's the hardest thing about being a head coach? Getting out of their way. That's the hardest part, staying out of their way and let them coach. And then the things I see that we need to get better at, that's what I coach them on.
Coach, one question that's a bit maybe out of left field. It's more about your background. I've been trying to do more to familiarize myself with you over the last few months. And so you're from Youngstown, Ohio. I see you went to Cardinal Mooney High School with other very well-established football coaches, Bo Pelini, Carl Pelini, Bob Stoops, Mark Stoops, Mike Stoops. Looks like you may have been there, same age as Bo Pelini, or both Pellinis really, and Mark Stoops. Just if you can, take me through what was it like at that high school? And we all know about the football talent and of players and coaches out of Youngstown, Ohio, but what was it like with that much football knowledge in one high school?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it? I mean, it's Carl was a senior, I was a junior, Mark was a sophomore, and then the next year, when my senior year, and Bo was a freshman, and then my senior year, so all four of us were there at the same time. It was a great program, great place to live and call home, and there's a lot of great coaches that have come out of that area, as you mentioned, but just out of our high school alone. And there's others that are coaching out and about, like Vince Morrow's at Kentucky with Mark, and Buffano, and there's a million of them. So it was part of our blood. It was faith family football. You kind of grew up in that thing, right? We all went to Catholic high school, and that was the faith element of it. Going to church, families were really close, and you cared about your family, and it was more important than anything in the world. And then it was football. You played football. That was it. And so there wasn't much else to do. People worked in the steel mills, played football. So if you ever watch the movie All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise, that's kind of how we grew up. And it was that important at that time. And we had a lot of great players that came through there over the years, played all over the country, and I was really blessed and fortunate for that opportunity, and learned a lot. Coach Butchie was our head coach. Bobby, Mark, and Mike Stav was our defensive coordinator and head baseball coach. And so they were role models for me to want to become a coach. And that's really where it all kind of hit home.
Well, we want to thank you for being with us tonight. Look forward to seeing you later on this summer when we come through on our Palmetto Pigskin Tour. And, of course, following the shots, you'll have Mr. Bergen right behind you there, step for step on the sideline. So don't let him get in your way with his headset and his microphone there during ball games. But thank you so much for joining us.
He better run. He better run fast, because I'll be all over that sideline.
Coach, I stay out of the way. I learned a long time ago not to get in the way.
And listen, if you want to do a quick trade and trade him for me for that trip to the Rose Bowl, I'm all for it, okay? I'll be happy to make that trip out there with you. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
You got it, guys. All right, man. See you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Okay, Coach Tim Beck. He's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to follow, and I can't wait to see his offense unfold. And you got a great place to start with Grayson McCall, no doubt about it, with some other nice pieces on that offense. So looking forward to watching them. Tough place to start, of course. Can't hold it against them when they go out to UCLA, but then again, don't undersell them either, because UCLA's got to figure out what they're going to do. I'm talking about what Coastal's going to do against them. They'll have that little bit of secret stuff going for them.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
Man, thanks to Tim Beck. We're 2 for 2 on outstanding interviews tonight. Coach Bakich, Coach Beck. Coach Beck, that'll be available for you on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, on our podcast as well. If you missed it, you can go back and hear all of that. It's worth listening to again and again. And good luck to him this offseason, and look forward to watching him do his thing this coming football season. A couple of quick notes. Folks in Nashville, they have approved the biggest public subsidy ever for an NFL franchise. Public hearings overnight. The Metro Nashville City Council approved 26-12 this morning, $760 million in revenue bonds for a new stadium, with approved previously $500 million in state contributions in hand. The public funding for the Titans Arena now totals $1.265 billion. That's 50% more than what New York State gave the Bills for their new stadium earlier this year. A proposed 60,000-seat enclosed stadium with a translucent roof, estimated to cost $2.1 billion. Construction expected to commence in 2024, grand opening in 2027 to replace a stadium that was built in way back, last century, 1999. So that thing's in the other century, so it needs to be replaced.
Well, they built it for the Oilers, right? When the Oilers moved, that was the stadium they ultimately moved into, correct?
Well, when the Houston Oilers moved to Nashville, became the Titans. Of course, they played their first year in Memphis, and while they were waiting for this stadium to be built. Right. But yeah, they became the Titans. You're correct.
I'm amazed they can get that kind of money passed through government bonds and the like anymore. That's a heck of a sales job by the folks in Nashville, because most folks nowadays hate NFL, NBA, MLB owners and don't want to give them a dime. And you can certainly understand why. So that's a heck of a sales job to keep the Titans happy.
And what happens, too, at Tennessee State University's football team plays there, as well as the Nashville SC Major League Soccer team, and the NHL already had a future contract where the Predators and Tampa Bay Lightning were going to play an annual game inside that stadium on ice. So what happens with all that?
Rent's going up, my friend. Rent is going up.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Are they going to tear down Nissan Stadium? It's a beautiful stadium, sits right along the river, right across the river from downtown Nashville. And again, it was built in 1999. Now, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles and amenities of the most recently built stadiums, but it's not that ancient by any means. One thing I like about Nissan Stadium, it has a very, and this is, selfishly talking, has a very low press box. Has a press box where you feel like you're almost at field level. That's awesome. Which is nice from a media standpoint. And if they're taking care of us, I mean, they're taking care of the fans and the donors as well. But I don't know if they're going to tear it down, or maybe let's Tennessee State take it over like they did with the old Turner Field in Atlanta, where Georgia State has taken over that property. Who knows? But that's going to be the plan moving forward there in Nashville. Gary Stoken, who knows a thing or two about college football, coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy this evening with a low of 53. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds with a 30% chance of showers. The high reaches 78. Friday is the rain day with an 80% chance of thunderstorms, especially in the first half of the day. The high is 77. For the weekend, Saturday, we hit 82 and get a mix of sun and clouds. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, it's Kevin. I'm taking VFT on the road. Join me for a very fun Thursday afternoon drive as the Point heads to KJ's Market on St. Andrews Road. The South Carolina Pork Court has invited us out, and we'll do anything to take our act on the road. Everyone that stops by KJ's Market this Thursday, 4 to 6, free Point swag. It's a good kind of pork, not the kind we talk about with government spending. Come out. Visit with me Thursday, 4 to 6 at KJ's Market, St. Andrews, compliments of the South Carolina Pork Board.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. The GOP-led House voting 217 to 215 today to approve a Republican bill to raise the government's debt ceiling while cutting spending and unraveling major elements of President Biden's domestic agenda. Although the bill has really little chance of becoming law, Republicans hope that approving the bill will force President Biden to restart negotiations with Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Some blunt talk today from President Biden. He warns a North Korean nuclear attack on the United States or any of our allies would be catastrophic for Pyongyang. President, meanwhile, has welcomed the South Korean president to the White House at the start of a state visit by a key American ally. They'll be holding a series of major talks. This is SRN News.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
COVID impacted all of us. In the manufactured home industry, prices increased significantly. Manufacturers limited floor plans and cut options. At Lexington Discount Homes, we battled through it, and now things are much better. Homes are much more affordable, and we've got a huge selection. So if you're ready for a beautiful manufactured home, visit Lexington Discount Homes at 1847 Augusta Highway. We'll give you superior customer service from start until the day that you move in. Visit us online at lexingtondiscounthomes.com or give us a call at 951-1900.
The pipes burst, you're getting the repairs done. Now it's time for your flooring. This is where the flooring department shines. We don't have a huge multi-million-dollar showroom, but we all buy from the same manufacturers. So why pay more? We're locally owned and have 30 years experience in the flooring industry, and we stand by our work. Get tremendous customer service and great pricing with the flooring department, 951-3567, or online at theflooringdepartment.com. That's 951-3567 or 951-FLOR, the flooring department.
Excuse me, would you like some expert advice on how to reduce your energy usage and save money? Absolutely. Did you know that Dominion Energy offers its residential electric customers a free home energy checkup? Really? What's included? A customized energy report and free installation of energy-saving products for eligible customers. Does it take long? An hour or two at most. So how do I sign up? Go to DominionEnergySC.com and click Save Energy. DominionEnergySC.com. Here I come. Thanks for the tip. Certain restrictions apply.
Shooter's Choice in West Columbia is bringing Manufacturers Weekends to you the entire month of April. As April winds down at Shooter's Choice, the sales keep coming. They're closing out the month with Charter Arms in the house, showing off their revolver line. Perfect for home defense. The whole line will be manufacturer special discount weekend pricing. So call ahead to get a weekend schedule and don't miss a perfect opportunity to test fire any of these products on sale each weekend. Shotguns, silencers, handguns. Come by and meet the manufacturer and test out their products. Shooter's Choice makes April a great month to shop for your upcoming hunting adventures. Hunt that gobbler with a new shotgun or build that perfect wild hog coyote rifle with a thermal night vision scope and a silencer to bring home a big boy. Or getting started on home defense and personal protection. Spring is here, so make it special for any of your hunting, firearms, or accessories. 944 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do, I do it big. Yeah, screaming that's when I pulled up the line.
Well, I didn't know our upcoming guest, Gary Stokan, had called Pat and asked for his walk-up music to be played as we bring him on to Sports Talk. I'm sure that song Gary's heard regularly through the offices of the Peach Bowl there in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's a song I haven't heard before, so that's a new one on me. How you doing?
Great. Appreciate you being with us. It's good to catch up with you again. It's a busy time before we talk about some actual football and things going on because it's a big year for you guys. You got the golf tournament coming up involving a bunch of football coaches there over at the Reynolds Plantation. I know you always get excited about that.
Yeah, the Southern Company Peach Bowl Challenge this year is, just in South Carolina, we've got Steve Spurrier playing, we got Shane Beamer playing, and Dabo Swinney. So we got the threesome from South Carolina well represented.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is this change in sponsorship this year, I believe, right? Because it's always, up to this point, been Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, we've had Chick-fil-A in the past. It's probably Southern Company is our new title sponsor and partner, and they're going to bring Matt Kuchar over to speak and to play. So something different. We'll have a pro player over there to have some fun. He's a Georgia Tech grad, so he fits right in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the coaches really, they love this event, don't they?
Well, it really is a great time for them to come out of spring ball, be able to be with their wives, come down, have some fellowship with other coaches and their wives, and just talk, about life and family and how things are going. Sure, they talk a little football as well, but we just do it to say thank you for the coaches who have been so instrumental in helping us get our kickoff game and our bowl game elevated to the position we're in right now. So this will be, we'll hit $9.4 million that we've given away in the 16 years we've held this tournament to universities, to coaches, charities, as well as their foundations. So this year will be a $300,000 purse. But it's great to see the coaches just enjoy each other. They don't have to be on, so to speak, because there's no media there. They can just relax, enjoy themselves, have some fun, and make a lot of money for their charities and foundations.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, as you were talking about, you were thanking the coaches for helping to elevate. And I remember, I sat in the rain in 1969 at Grant Field for Peach Bowl number 2, I think it was, South Carolina, West Virginia. Right. And, it was at the Grant Field, and it was pouring down rain. In fact, it rained on like every Peach Bowl for like the first 10 years, so it seemed. So, but boy, you can use the slogan, "You've come a long way, baby," from where you started back there in the late 60s.
Well, you're exactly right. And in 1998, when I took this job, one of my jobs was to select the teams, and I had selected Virginia and Georgia. And the front of the AJC was Georgia's going to a third-tier bowl game, the Peach Bowl. So we've come a long way in 25 years to now where some people call Atlanta the capital of college football, and with us bringing the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta, creating the kickoff game format, and now being a part of the New Year's Six, and last year hosting what was one of the top 20 cable TV broadcasts in cable TV history, with 22.5 million viewers in our Georgia Ohio State CFP semifinal game.
And this year you got the big enchilada.
Yeah, well, next year. So next year we have Clemson, Georgia, to kick off the season. Then we have the quarterfinals. We'll start the CFP 12-team playoff. We'll host the quarterfinal game, and then in January of 25, we'll host the national championship game. And then that next college football season, we'll host South Carolina against Virginia Tech and Tennessee against Syracuse in our 2 kickoff games. And then at the end of that season, we'll host the semifinal of the CFP. So just some tremendous top 10 teams coming through Atlanta in the next few years in college football.
Well, it sounds like it for sure. So, okay, I got my dates and my locations out of whack. So Houston is hosting the national championship game for this coming season, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I know you guys are then excited about everything that's coming up. What's the for those who might not remember, like me, fill us in on your early season schedule for this year. Your 2 classic games.
Yes, we have
2 classic games for this year.
Yeah, we have Georgia Tech versus Louisville. We'll open with an ACC conference game on Friday. First time we've played on Friday, September 1st. Just one game this year, and then, as I mentioned earlier, Clemson, Georgia next year, and then South Carolina, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, and Syracuse. So we've scheduled out through 25. and I'm glad we did, because there's a lot of cities like Dallas, who typically has run kickoff game after us. They haven't had one for 3 years. So the inventory is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got a lot of ADs are scheduling tougher home and home non-conference games, because with the advent of the playoff, you could probably get into the playoff with 2 losses, maybe a loss in the conference and a tough non-conference loss. Up to this point, no team with 2 losses has ever been in the CFP playoff. So I think that was one of the reasons why the AD started scheduling tougher home and homes. The second reason is they wanted to keep their home ticket base satisfied and healthy, because that's a lot of revenue with, not only the season ticket, but the concessions and the merchandise that come along with it. So it's going to be interesting to see in May, when the ACC and SEC come out with their schedules moving forward. Are they going to go to 9 conference games? If they do, that along with the tough rivalry games that most ACC and SEC have, like Clemson, South Carolina, or Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, Louisville, Kentucky, those are almost like you've got 10 conference games now. So those ADs are probably going to schedule those other 2 games at home. So I think the inventory will really shrink if the ACC and SEC go to 9 conference games.
What do you think about the impact of the expanded playoffs on the non-playoff bowls moving forward, and those bowl games that aren't your New Year's 6 games? Because now you're going to have more teams in the playoffs. That's fewer quality teams for other bowl games. Bowl games are already, I think, from an attendance standpoint and maybe a television standpoint, maybe you can correct me, taking a bit of a hit in terms of interest and numbers and things like that. I'm talking about your non-New Year's 6 games and your non-playoff bowl games. What's going to be the future for those bowl games? Can they stay relevant? Can they stay healthy, you think, in this new environment?
I think that's a really great question, Phil. When you look at, having 12 teams, although, with a playoff format, it's a little different than what we have now. But if you really look at the New Year's 6 bowl games, there's 12 teams playing in those. So there really is already 12 teams scheduled out in the New Year's 6 games, just like there will be in the playoff. I think it will take some luster off some of the other bowl games. But this year, we just came from Nashville with the bowl season, our annual convention, and ESPN reported that, the bowls had some of their success. The bowls that you're talking about, non-New Year's 6 bowl games, had some of the highest TV ratings they've ever had. So I think bowl season, that mid-December till January, first week in January, that's a prime time for ESPN. They make more money during that time than they make any other time during the year. And it's due to all the bowls and the great ratings and the viewership that the bowls have on TV. So they sell a lot of advertising. A lot of people are at home watching games on TV, and the viewership shows that they've been successful.
Glad you brought that up, because that leads to my next question. ESPN in the news, Disney cutting 7,000 jobs, ESPN being impacted. You don't cut jobs like that unless you're losing money or you're not making as much money as you think you need. You would know that better than I would, being a corporate exec type of individual. What about the health of ESPN from where you sit, and the future of ESPN with the playoffs, with college football, with college sports in general? Do you still see it being healthy over the next 10 to 25 years?
Yeah, we just came back from Dallas. We were in Nashville last week, and then we're in Dallas this week, meeting with the New Year's 6 bowl games, meet with the commissioners, talking about the playoffs moving forward. We met with ESPN, and we also met with the CFP. And obviously, that was one of the big stories down there we were all talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the idea is, number one, ESPN is losing some money in the streaming sense, but I think they're also trying to look forward and say, okay, we've got an NBA TV negotiation coming up. We have a CFP negotiation, playoff negotiation coming up. We're going to need money for those 2 big rights fees. So I think they're, they're partly from a business standpoint losing some money. So yeah, you cut back when you're losing money, but also we need to save some money for these big negotiations, these big right fees coming up. And they certainly don't want to give up college football, nor do they want to give up the NBA. So I think they'll be very interested and very involved in those negotiations.
How are you feeling being right there in Atlanta, and of course, being closely involved with the SEC in large degree and the ACC as well? But how are you feeling about the 2024 arrival of Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC and what that might mean for the league and whatever impact it might have on what you're doing?
Well, you got to believe with UCLA and USC coming into the Big Ten and Oklahoma, Texas coming into the SEC, that's certainly going to bolster the competitive edge in both those conferences, as well as the TV viewership. We've already seen it impact them positively in their negotiation with TV rights. So I think it's nothing but positive for not only Texas and Oklahoma, but also the SEC in general. So SEC and Big Ten are going to pay approximately $80 million per team after these new TV deals, which is going to create a big chasm with the ACC, the Big 12, and who knows what the Pac-12 will do with their negotiations still going on in TV. So, yeah, it's going to be real interesting. We'll see if there's the next iteration of expansion. I think things will calm down for a couple of years here. We'll just have to see what the next step is.
Do you think, of course, you guys, they're at the stadium, and I guess you guys as well involved SEC championship. What is your involvement with the SEC championship game? Does your organization have much to do with that, or is that strictly run by the SEC and you guys are just observers?
Yeah, it was interesting. In 1992, after playing in Birmingham when they first started the SEC championship game, they had a couple rain days and cold days over there in Birmingham. And we were just opening the Georgia Dome. And so Roy Kramer met with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, as well as the ACVB and the Georgia Dome. And we were able to put together a package for the SEC championship game to move to Atlanta. And we've held it here now that we're in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So, but the SEC primarily puts the game on. We help sell some tickets, a lot less than we did in 1992 when they first moved here. But it's mainly the SEC that puts the SEC championship game on.
Yeah, what I was leading to is going to be, it will be strange if and when it happens that a Texas or an Oklahoma is in Atlanta playing somebody for the SEC championship. See how many. I imagine their fans will travel and come to Atlanta and pack their side of the stadium.
Well, it's interesting, Phil. No one's talking about this, but I think one of the main benefactors of the new playoff moving forward in 2024 and beyond are the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, and Big 10 championship games. Because now as you move forward as a conference without having divisions, and you start to put two top 10 teams in that championship game of your conference with the potential of both of them, either getting into the top 12 or definitely one of them getting a potential bye in the playoff. Because the way the format will run, the top 12 teams four of the top 12 teams will be given byes, but they have to be conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
So the four highest ranked conference championship games will get a bye 1 through 4. Everybody else is going to have to play on campus 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, 7 versus 9, or 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. So winning a conference championship is going to be awfully strong because you get a bye and have to play one less game in that playoff system.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all takes effect and how people adapt to the new rules. And if they buy into it, college fans, they love more football, so I'm sure they will. Gary, we thank you so much for being with us. Great stuff. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you soon down the road, probably SEC, ACC Media Days. And we'll talk to you again soon.
We'll look forward to it. And thanks so much for having us. We appreciate what you do for college football and for us.
And to you, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Gary Stoken from Atlanta, from the Chick-fil-A Bowl. And I'm glad he corrected my mistake of the day. There was my one, Chris, the mistake of the day. Everybody else
gets
it.
one.
Nobody else called it.
No, I thought you were right, too.
I did. I sounded like I knew what I was talking about, didn't I?
No, I trusted you. And I think we looked it up, and I thought that was correct. So I'm glad he
I
fixed
had
that.
seen that where Atlanta was hosting this year, and it was going to be because didn't we talk about it? Not on the show, maybe privately. We talked about, hey, you've already been to those places recently, and somewhere we got our calendar messed up. So it's Houston for the National. I've been to Houston before. That's fine. I can get around Houston. Okay, we'll be back with recruiting.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams, and you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play, and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play, and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Now the party don't start till I walk in, and I usually
That would have worked for Gary quite well. The theme music for Atlanta, which reminds me about the Celtics and the Hawks having to play there tomorrow night. Can't believe we blew a 13-point lead with 6 minutes to go at home last night. Could have put the Hawks to sleep.
And a history-making game tomorrow night. That game, what is it, game 6 of that series, has forced Janet Jackson's concert to be moved to Friday at State Farm Arena in Atlanta.
Nice of the folks in Atlanta to have faith in their Hawks. We're not going to be playing. We can go ahead and schedule it during the NBA playoffs. Our team's not going to be needing the arena.
They're not any good.
All right, let me get
so
the recruiting done here. Once again, we pushed ourselves to the limit, but that's okay. It's worth waiting on, as is the Seawell's Daily Luncheon Buffet. If you didn't make it today, you're waiting until tomorrow. Well, it's almost that time, 11 till 2 tomorrow for another edition of the Daily Luncheon Buffet over at Seawell's. And you'll find them on Rosewood Drive across from the State Fairgrounds. Only $13. Best Buy in South Carolina for a delicious buffet. And if you need the very best in the catering business for something that is coming up in the future, and you need it planned and you need it executed and you need it cleaned up after it's all done, just call Seawell's, 803-771-7385, SeawellsCateringSC.com, online. In recruiting tonight, checked in on tight end Amir Jackson, 6'4", 223 out of Portal, Georgia. And hot commodity now in recruiting. USC, Alabama, Florida State, Central Florida, Louisville, Miami, Auburn, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Virginia Tech offers. USC offered him on the 12th. Got a phone call from Jody Wright, and he's building that relationship with South Carolina. It's very early. He's never been to South Carolina. Hopes to get in this summer. That's what Wright told him, to come in this summer for a visit. So they'll see if they can make that happen. Doesn't know that much about South Carolina, but he did like talking to Jody Wright and feels like they're starting to build a relationship there. He was at Florida State for their spring game on the 15th. He also went to Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Miami, Auburn, Georgia Southern, and Troy in the spring. Clemson is going to get the first official visit June 2nd from offensive tackle Casey Poe, 6'5", 280 of Lindale, Texas. His top 8, Clemson, Baylor, Oklahoma, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas Tech. He's got 4 official visits lined up, and Clemson is going to get the first one. And after that, he'll continue with his other official visits. He'll go to Texas Tech, Auburn, and Alabama the subsequent weekends, and then he'll take a 5th or maybe a 6th official visit at some point. Clemson very much in the hunt. He likes Thomas Austin. Of course, he likes Dabo Swinney, the culture at Clemson. He was there for an unofficial visit and a spring practice and a junior day back on March the 11th. USC target, Florida State transfer defensive end Derek McClendon headed to Colorado. He made an official with the Gamecocks. Offensive tackle Jaquan McRoy of Pinson, Alabama, had a Clemson offer and visited in March, but he's got officials with Ole Miss, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Oregon in June. Offensive tackle Egan Boyer, Cornelius, North Carolina, had a Clemson offer among others, committed to Penn State. USC's in the top 7 with receiver Channing Goodwin of Charlotte. The others are North Carolina, Michigan, NC State, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. USC offered linebacker Elijah Newby, 6'3", 210, Cheshire, Connecticut. Former TL Hanna defensive tackle Stephon Wynn is transferring again. Started at Alabama, then went to Nebraska. He's back in the portal, John. Basketball, guard Jaden Thompson, Concord, North Carolina, committed to Charleston Southern. Former Citadel guard Kayla McCann, transferring to Tennessee. Offers continue to come in for 6'4", Clemson and USC target Austin Swartz, Texas A&M the latest. USC women offered 6' Jordan Lee of Stockton, California, and 2026 6'4" Olivia Bucosa of Whitestone, New York. That is recruiting here on Sports Talk. Bruce in Missouri has been paying the price and eating up our phone line, and he's with us in our last 90 seconds. Hello, Mr. Bruce.
I appreciate you taking my call. Just to give you a paradigm shift here, you got 3 football players that possibly could be nominated as a trophy winner for the Heisman Trophy, either 2 of them or 1 of them, playing the Clemson, South Carolina, and Coastal Carolina. Those are quality football players that could be nominated as a Heisman Trophy participant.
Who do you have from Clemson?
Klubnik.
Huh?
I'm going to throw Will Shipley out there.
Klubnik? Can he like maybe play a game before we put him in the Heisman race? I mean, I know he played against North Carolina, but
I've seen him play a whole game just about.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I think we got to be a little patient before we start, I mean, I know we like to rush people to the Heisman Trophy and to the Hall of Fame, but I think, they should win some games and play some games before we do that. But I hear you. Rattler's got to play a lot better. McCall, he's got to deal with the fact that he's in a non-Power 5 league. That kind of works against him. Thank you, Bruce. Chris, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Pat, thank you. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. The House voting on the GOP's debt ceiling bill.
The GOP-led House on Wednesday voted 217 to 215 to pass a Republican bill to raise the government's debt ceiling while cutting spending and unraveling major elements of President Biden's domestic agenda. Although the bill has scant chance of becoming law, Republicans hope approving the legislation will force President Biden to restart negotiations with Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The New York Democrat, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, has indicated the bill has no chance in his chamber, and the president has vowed to veto it. Edwin Mora, Capitol Hill.
President Biden has